Hi Saloni, thanks for
Hi,
being
hi
a part
Sagar.
of Top Voices. How are you doing?
Thanks for inviting me. I'm good. How are you? How's the day going?
Great. I think we have interacted a lot outside this podcast off the record, and I got you in because I found out that all the projects that you worked in with us were like delivered exceptionally well, and all the clients had to say good words about your work. Also, what I realized is that you're also like really well versed with working with founders directly, and all the founders sort of appreciate the kind of basically you have all the traits which founders look for while working with a product designer, and I would like to have your insights. And before we do that, I'll start with your introduction. So Saloni has been working with Springworks over 2 years now, and she has worked with the Springworks founder directly. And Karthik is a popularly known founder in our networks. Also, she has basically done 12 to 15 projects for Versatile apart from what she did for Springworks, and she has a strong drive towards product and business. So she makes sure that she also incorporates business metrics while working on product design, and that is what the most interesting part is. So, Saloni, go ahead and introduce yourselves as well, and then I can start with the questions.
Sure. So I think your introduction does cover the basic aspect. I've worked at Springworks for close to 2 years now, and I've worked on multiple products here. Before this, I was part of another B2B SaaS company. There also I worked on more than one product. So most of the companies I've been part of have had multiple products in this suite, and I've had a chance to work on multiple at a time. So in the same company, if they have multiple products, you get to learn different domains of those products. So that part has been really great about my experience, and that has really added a lot to how I'm able to solve problems or work on designs.
And so I'll just give you some context on why we do this podcast.
Sure.
We do this podcast because we feel that there is something that differs top talent from the rest.
Hmm.
And today, companies and organizations understand the kind of talent that there is in the market. And top designers are really rare, right?
Hmm.
And organizations are ready to pay a premium on top of that. But we want that we sort of shift the entire paradigm in the market, and we make sure that by this content, facilitate the key insights or information for aspiring mid seniors, junior designers, so that they can sort of make their career journeys exponential. And that is the core agenda of this podcast. If we have a lot of talent in the market that is top designers, products will ultimately see like better revenue spikes. They'll see like better growth, better and well performing products. So that's the entire core of the podcast. It might change with time, but for now this is what it is, right? So first question, and we will just quickly dive into it. So how has your experience been working with different founders, and what do you think are the key traits a founder looks for when they're working with a product designer?
So I think my experience working with founders only taught me one major thing, that founders really appreciate a sense of ownership. So every time you're expected to do a task, it's better that you not only proactively communicate what you're doing, where your progress is, but also try to keep them involved, but in very small to the point messages or to the point calls, because you can't really give the entire context of something to somebody who's talking to hundreds of people in a day. So the high sense of ownership is what they look for in terms of core design talent. That is something that anybody who has a sense of ownership, who is interested in working hard or making something good, would eventually get the hold of. But the work ethic and the ownership aspect, that is something you need to have every time you work with a founder. So that really sets you apart from anybody else in the team, a designer, non-designer. You become like this person that they trust and that they would go for yet again. That also, with the increased trust, you also get better kind of work, better quality of work, because they trust you with high impact things as well. So yeah, that aspect is something that founders really look for.
Right. And I also feel that a lot of product designers should strive to work with directly with founders, even if they are like non-design founders, because the insights that come from founders are something that are given hierarchy by hierarchy, right? If you directly work with the person who has those insights on the market, your work will automatically sort of be much better than it should be. And I hear you. What you say is like in summary is that you mean that if like product designers show enough ownership, and if product designers are very on point on the communication, then sort of founders automatically love to work with them, right? Which means, and
Yes.
also if they can generate the kind of trust that
Yes.
like founders look for, right? With the work and
Yes.
with the timelines, everything else.
Hmm.
Got it. And segueing into the next question, what's the most impactful work that you've done in your entire career until this point? And could you just explain like what is the work that
Yes.
sort of moved real life metrics?
Okay. So the most impactful work I've done was on a product I recently worked on called Albus. It's a GPT-4 based employee help desk. So it connects all of your tools, so your Jira, your HubSpot, and every tool that your company uses. We have a lot of integrations. You can connect to all of them and directly get answers. So just directly ask, what is the status of this query? What is the status of this deal on HubSpot? Or what is the status of this project or this ticket? How many ticket is this person working on? So you directly get answers to all of those things. Why I think that really led a lot of impact is we have a lot of tools where we're surrounded with information all the time. So shortening the journey between you wanting that information and you getting that really is a very impactful. So you spend 15-20 minutes at times searching for something specific out of a Google Doc, but with a technology driven tool you can do it within seconds. So on this project, the main impactful part I would say is I was involved from the 0 to 1, the first set of screens to the first product hunt launch, the first set of features, now scaling those features. And where the most impact and the most challenging aspect I would say was the thinking at scale, because the technology
Hmm.
was moving so fast. And I don't come from a technology background, so I didn't really know a lot about how AI and machine learning, all of those things work. And I this taught me how to collaborate well with engineers, because I really
Hmm.
had to understand the technological capability of this right now and in 6 months. The second thing it taught me was that my job doesn't just end at delivering those screens. My job ends at seeing what those screens are doing, how are they being developed. At times during development, developers realize that we can do this, we can deliver it within a few days early if we make some compromises here. So you also need
Hmm.
to be actively involved with them to see what compromises are worth making, what compromises are not worth making. And the third part where I would say I learned a lot here is I was not just involved in the design, I was also involved in the entire journey of the product, the product research, and even I've done even some graphic work for this product, some marketing launches, marketing campaigns. I was involved closely with them. So just entire customer experience, not just the user experience of the person using it, the experience of the customer with our entire product suite, the website, any interaction that they've had with our company or our product. So that really has been a great project I worked on, and I think I would say that has been my best work so far.
Yeah, I think Albus has come out to be really good tool, and I think it's like pretty famous with a lot of teams as well. I think a lot of businesses have already onboarded on Albus,
Yes.
and I think conversational design is now getting much more limelight with
Hmm.
chatbots coming in and with a lot of AI
Hmm.
coming in, because
Hmm.
every sort of SaaS tool would have like a conversational bot which facilitates a lot of things directly for
Hmm.
the users, right? Like if you even take Fireflies as an example, it lets users ask the questions on top of
Hmm.
transcript, and I
Yeah.
think that is where like conversational design is going to be
Hmm.
much more interesting in the future. And if you would have to talk about the most interesting work that you have done till date, which one would that be apart from Albus? So if Albus was something that is already creating a lot of impact
Hmm.
and will be creating much more impact, but which project did you enjoy the most working on?
So a project that I enjoyed the most was on this product at Springworks itself. It was called Engage With. Engage With is an employee recognition and rewards tool. So you kind of give thanks to your coworkers for doing something nice. I really resonate with the mission behind this product, and I designed a feature called awards for this product. So awards, as in the employee awards, the awards that companies give out to their employees, employee of the month, salesperson of the year, these kinds of awards. So I created a digital tool, a feature within this product to facilitate the process of giving awards digitally. So the gap that we saw was that in remote or hybrid first companies, the gratification of getting an award is not as much because it's all on Slack. So you don't really feel as appreciated or as good about getting it as you do in a in-person company where you handed out a certificate and there's a whole thing, it's announced on the channel. So I really resonate with this product and overall the mission that it has. So building this feature was very interesting and very fun work for me to do. This also allowed a lot of creative problem solving,
Right,
because
right.
not a lot of products exist like this. So there's not much
And
reference to take. Everything had to be solved from scratch.
nice, nice, nice. And let's talk about Springworks more. What do you feel is the philosophy? Let's say if someone has to apply in Springworks, I think they have like a pretty good design team. And if someone has to join Springworks, what are the things that Springworks would look at to make sure the candidate swiftly sort of is accepted? What are the value systems and what are the key things that you look for in a designer while hiring at Springworks?
So while hiring at Springworks, main is the person really has to go above and beyond, I would say. So
Hmm.
everyone in our company is really approachable. So if you really want to apply join the company, just drop a message to anybody, any senior manager, any person, even our CEO. He responds to almost every message that he gets. So you can just
Hmm.
directly tell them why you're passionate about joining a company like Springworks, what kind of value, what kind of impact can you bring. This is not just about a design role to join a company. They can outright communicate the kind of impact they can bring, the kind of skills that they have, and why they want to join. And most likely they'll hear back. If their work is not up to the mark, they'll also get a good set of feedback. So everyone responds very well. So that part is, yeah, just go above and beyond. Don't just rely on apply button on the careers
Hmm.
page. Just drop in a message to somebody, send your work, share your work. I know a lot of people in my company have gotten their role just by a cold email or cold DM, and not just one or two people. There's plenty of people who've gotten their roles that way. So our hiring process not just very conventional. It's a lot
Hmm.
about how much you're willing to try, and how much you're willing to show that you really want this role. And the second part is, you asked what would Springworks look for a designer. I think we don't really have a clear set of ideas that this is what we want. It's pretty generic: good UI skills, good product understanding, good sense of ownership. These three main aspects. One thing so recently we did hiring for a product manager, sorry, a product designer, even also for product manager. So I got a lot of referral requests, and I noticed some of those requests stood out to me a lot more than the other ones. So the ones that stood out
Hmm.
really personalized message for this company or for this kind of role. So you can't just be sending the same copy paste message and expect everybody to respond. It has to catch the eye. And when the other person is getting hundreds of messages, if something you can do stands out, you have a better chance of success. And in design roles, I noticed that a lot of people didn't even just send case studies, they just sent their resumes. Everybody knows that in a design role you need a portfolio. That is a main gist of your work. Resume is not as important as the portfolio. That is the main meat of the role. So send a portfolio. Even in the portfolio, try to include case studies that are not following the ideal pattern. Like I've seen a lot of case studies that just follow all of the check boxes, like the discover, define, design, redo, the entire. No real life projects work like that. Even if you're solving like just a random problem statement, no two problem statements would ever follow the same path of um,
Correct, correct.
solving it. So just
It'll
be
have
honest
different
about
approaches
how
all
it
the time.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Agreed.
sure you must also get a lot of these portfolios that follow the set pattern.
Yeah, I think
So,
like we
uh,
scrape off all the portfolios and we are really blunt with that because we think that designers who have done like extra work or have gone on top of other portfolios, we are basically being, if we do not scrape the others, we are being unfair with them, right? Because they have put in the hard
yeah,
work. And we
definitely.
basically make sure that our standard check is aligned to be at a place where we start seeing the ownership patterns from the portfolio itself, right?
Hmm.
And we start seeing that they have not followed like a template to build a portfolio,
Hmm.
which I mean, like there are a lot of designers who do that. And I like, even sometimes when designers call me and they ask me the reasons of rejection, I tell them that, you know, the portfolio is the place where basically product designers vet portfolios inside organizations, and
Hmm.
they should be really specific while mentioning their approach, while mentioning
Hmm.
how they go about solving a
Hmm.
project, and like get testimonials if you feel like, right?
Yeah,
Get, make
definitely.
sure you mention impact, metrics, all of those things, like add a lot on top of testimony, on top of case studies, right?
Also try to add some personal touch to your portfolio, add some of your other hobby work or any of that
Hmm.
that's not really directly relevant to the role, but it just shows
Yeah,
that this portfolio is not just your work, but it represents who you are as a designer, as an employee,
yeah,
as a person. I think
yeah.
there have been times where during interviews people have seen something specific on my portfolio that's not my work related, but that has led to a
Hmm.
conversation. I'm not saying that
Hmm.
that had led me to a role, but that did lead me to forming a connection with the person I was speaking to. So they
Hmm.
see me as a person, not as just
A
another person
robot,
that
yeah,
they, yeah, not
yeah.
just another robot who has just sent some work. So just the
Hmm.
human side of
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
should come out of the
It
portfolio.
basically sparks like a conversation, and you can talk about
Yeah.
something which is like connecting to them as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, so we'll dive deep into the next set of questions, and this is where we get your sort of ideas and insights on where do you look at to get inspiration for your design work, and then we can also move on to some other questions which can help aspiring designers watching this podcast. So we'll start off with the part where you can tell us about the inspiration that you basically use on your daily life to better your product design.
So there's two kinds of ways in which you can see getting inspiration. One is the UI inspiration, because because you're designing for a app or a web interface, it needs to align to a certain set of rules. Like a specific delete icon should always be delete, because that's what people are used to. So that is a
Hmm.
UI inspiration. Then there is UX inspiration. Both the things need to be part of it, but at times you can get one from source A and the other from source B. So if anytime you're looking for an inspiration, see what inspiration are you seeking. Do you have some sort of a direction for how you want to solve a problem, and you just want to see how to do a UI for it? Then you have these dribbles and dribble, behance, all of these sources looking to see what creative ways to solve a problem. Then I think just observe around you, observe how this problem is being solved currently, what kind of small things you can do to the current way of this problem being solved to enhance it a little bit. You need not to reinvent the wheel every time. Just see what can you do in the existing process to improve it, how to do that. But there's still some resources that I find myself going back to. One of them is growth.design. So it's basically a cumulative website which has like 150, 60 case studies. They're just tear downs of flows of different popular products. So they have tear downs of Airbnb, Tinder, onboarding experience of this, onboarding that, monetization flow of this product. This is run by two, very do a tear down of it. So they go through the entire flow, and within each slide they tell their feelings and observations and interesting insights that they find about it. It also sometimes highlights these design principles, like this is a psychology principle that they're using here. So those kinds of things really help, because you understand how these big brands who have hundreds of designers designing just one flow have thought about it. They must have given everything that they have. So actually getting to deep dive into it really helps. It may not always be helpful for the specific problem that you're solving, but it does create that mindset of your where you think about solving something well. Another inspiration that
Right, right.
resource that I really like is checklist.design. So it has a bunch of checklists. So say I'm designing a login flow. I can just click on login flow there, and it shows me all of the core items that the login flow should have. Some kinds of edge cases that can come up in login pages, and so it has a checklist for a
Hmm.
lot of commonly used components and commonly used flows. Then there's one resource called fountain.design. It has probably everything: UX and UX case studies, UI inspiration. It also has a job board, which I've not really explored, but I've heard people have liked the job board as well. So these three, four resources I keep going back to, and I think they're very helpful. Aside from that, just I think it helps to read outside of design books as well, marketing and psychology. Because I think marketing psychology and design psychology are very aligned, because psychology principles would remain the same. It only varies where you apply it. So reading about those things, I think, helps you think about how different companies have done something specific, how you can move a certain metric, how somebody in the past has gone outside of the general path and solved a problem. Just helps you become a more creative and a more well-rounded person.
Right. And I hear you because like a lot of intersections of psychology, design, marketing is what is like ultimately feeded to the user. And
Hmm.
that is where most of the magic happens. Instead of just like designing something, if you
Hmm.
can apply like a thought process to it and make sure
Hmm.
that this is why you applied this, it becomes much more better. And like if you
Hmm.
validate on top with like a few users, it's like magic, right?
Hmm.
And I also wanted to ask you, let's say you would have to design your life in a way that you want to be in the top 1% of the entire design talent, right? How would you
Hmm.
sort of design your life in that sense? And what is the advice that you would give to other designers watching this on how they should go about their daily lives so that they can exponentially improve their career trajectories?
Okay, so be designing their life. If somebody is an early stage designer, I think one thing that they cannot afford to lose out on is good set of UI skills, because that is something you can only learn early on. Because as you grow in your career, the active hands-on design work reduces. So as an early stage designer, you really have a lot of opportunity to develop your UI skills, that you can create a good looking experience, a good looking UI. You can visually see that this is not aligned, and that really helps when you grow in your career, because when active hands-on work reduces, you have more work about looking at other screens, looking at other flows. So this UI skills do help. This is the core of what you're doing. You can continue to develop your UX and your product skills as you grow in your career, but I think UI is something that you can only do when you're early on, because you have more time and more energy to invest in that. So anybody who's looking to grow from a very zero, as in from a college, just somebody who's graduated college, or somebody who's new to this role, just try to develop both the skills hand in hand. Don't ignore UI. There was a lot of noise in the past when I was in my college, that you need to be good at UX, good at UX, which 100% is a non-negotiable. But at the same time, in early on, it's very hard to showcase it to companies that you have good UX skills, because you don't really have a lot of real world case studies.
You have
But
not
you
moved
can
metrics
show,
as such.
yeah, you
Yeah.
don't really have metrics to prove that you've
Hmm.
moved them. But if you can, so just do what the best with what you have. So if right now companies expect you to design a flow, if you show them a good looking flow, even if it has not moved many metrics, they might give you a chance, because they know you do have some core competencies, you've worked hard on your skills, and this does show that you're a talented person and you have potential to become a much better designer.
Yeah, you
And
have went
second
above and
that,
beyond to make sure कि UI में effort डाला. At least have
हाँ,
resourcefulness to start with whatever you have and then sort of
yeah,
improve
whatever you
on
have.
top of it. Yeah.
Definitely, because UX capabilities can only truly come up when you've worked on a real world project.
Hmm.
But UI capabilities are easier to showcase even without a
Hmm.
real world project.
Yeah,
That's it.
and I think what I see in your career as well is that you have stayed in an organization for long, which
Hmm.
means that you had a chance to move metrics, right?
Hmm.
Like you had a chance to work on interesting projects, which a lot of designers sort of miss. So, like I was speaking to other designers as well, and most of the time I've seen a common pattern that good designers stay in an organization for a longer period of time, at least 2 years, 2, 3 years, so that
Hmm.
they can have like more interesting opportunities and they can actually move metrics as well. Until then, you are just sort of doing something, but you don't give that work enough chance to see how it impacted
Yeah,
users, right?
definitely.
Because I think reaching to users takes distribution and some time to like get your work out. That is something that is really necessary. And it's the last segment and it's the most cliched segment. What is your general advice to designers, and especially this segment is targeted at junior designers who are just sort of are in their probation period or are just 3 months into product design, right? What would be your advice to them be?
Go above and beyond, wherever you can. If something is expected out of you, just deliver something extra every time you do something.
Hmm.
Do most with what you got. You may be in a company where you don't really think that this work is as challenging for you, but just try to do the most that you can with that role. Within that role, deliver the most impact. Another advice would be to not to try to speak to more people in your company, not just
Hmm.
designers. Become friends with engineers, become friends with PMs, marketing folks, sales folks. Be part of the entire journey of the product and the company. At times, in Springworks, I've what really helped is I became part of the sales calls. So I shadowed some of the sales folks as they were explaining our product, and I think that really helps you because you know what kind of expectations the other companies which are interested in your product have. So if
Hmm.
you can apply those directly to your design work, you can create an onboarding experience that self serves that purpose. So I think not
Hmm.
do not just not just remain constrained in the domain of design. Look at the company, the entire set of people, befriend them, learn from them, see what they're doing.
And Saloni, really nice to have you on the podcast. I think a lot of junior and mid-senior designers take a lot of inspiration from this. And all the best for anything that's upcoming in your life. And we'll see you again once we have like 50
Sure,
podcasts recorded. And if this IP grows, we'll have you back on the podcast so that
definitely.
we see your growth trajectory as well, and we also see, how like our audience reacts to it. So we'll see that real time if that happens.
Yes,
Right?
100%. Thank
Sure,
you for having
sure.
me over.
Thanks. Anytime, anytime. Thank you so much, Saloni. Thank you so much for sparing time. Thanks. Bye.